to give you a background of the center and its competition, let me introduce you the first speaker for this afternoon. She's a communications manager for the Oscar M. Lopez Center and currently project lead of the 2023 Mga Kwento ng Klima Short Films powered by Samsung. Please welcome Ms. Kato Sarmiento.
Thank you, Darren. Let me share my screen. I was going to speak in Taglish, but I didn't realize that we have a non-native Filipino speaker here. So I will try my best to let me know if anything is unclear. Magandang hapon, good afternoon. I'm Kato Sarmiento. Thank you so much for joining the 2023 Mga Kwento ng Klima Shorts powered by Samsung. If you can hear the moaning and groaning behind me, that's just my air conditioning. I have no captive audience here. I know I am very lucky to be able to have air conditioning in this heat. And I think that's what's exciting about the stories that you intend to tell. You did not shy away from the complexities of climate change. Like, for example, yes, it would be so much better for everyone if we didn't use air conditioning. But how are we going to survive the impacts of climate change in this heat? Climate change is not a one-to-one problem impact solution. And having been one of the people leading the blind screening of the pitch decks, I'm so grateful that you did not oversimplify the challenges. You are taking on extreme events, climate futures, impacts on health, climate justice, and impacts on coastal communities. So to start, why am I here talking to you? What is the OML Center? The Oscar M. Lopez Center was founded in 2012, a year before Typhoon Haiyan, by our namesake, Oscar M. Lopez. At that time, OML thought, if their company, which had enough resources, had a difficult time recovering from tropical cyclones and disasters, how much more difficult would it be for the typical Filipino? At the time the center was opened, you can count with one hand how many researchers all over the Philippines that are just focused on the impacts of climate change. So the first 5 years of the center was really focused on working with the scientific community, the academe, Pag-asa, and the Climate Change Commission, among many others, in building up the available climate change research in and on the country. This is still primarily the work that we do, and the climate change research available since our founding has greatly increased. But so has the effects of climate change. The science is there, but we're not really quite seeing the action on the ground yet. So in 2018, our chairman, Piqui Lopez, challenged the center to recalibrate its mission and look into not just building on the science, but also bridging the knowledge to action gap. Despite being an archipelagic country with 7,641 islands, the 5th longest coastline in the world, and historically vulnerable to extreme weather disturbances from the Pacific Ocean, not too many of our people and communities fully appreciate what climate change means for them. Most people only know tagtuyo at tag-ulan, dry season and rainy season, but we actually have 4 climate types that not only differentiate the annual experience of rainfall, but also means that we have different climate risks. Quite literally, what happens on one side of the mountain is different from the other side of the mountain. However, we know that just telling the science has its limitations. One of the center's efforts to communicate the science is through presenting information more visually. The power of visuals capitalizes on the fact that humans are 70% visual creatures. This means that 70% of our sensory stimuli are processed visually. Apart from this, most of us, about 65%, are visual learners. Studies have shown that visual cues such as color, shape, or size can increase a person's comprehension of data. In fact, studies found that using visual aids can be 43% more persuasive. The center's work on visualization is still in its infancy, but our collaborations with technical, creative, and community-based partners are providing opportunities for this initiative. Example on the screen is actually a climate profile that we did as part of our partnership with the Climate Change Commission. This is the earlier iteration of the MKK Short Films, the Klima Film Festival. Since we were working with youth from different parts of the country, we prepared climate profiles for them so that they are grounded in terms of what are the climate realities that their regions are facing. But really, all of this started this initial effort to humanize data through creative storytelling in 2019, when we co-produced with ABS-CBN's DocuCentral, a 60-minute documentary that talked about how the Filipino experience of climate change is really different. Living vicariously through characters and living out a different time, geography, and reality hits people differently from just presenting them with temperature data. Because the kwento ng klima, the story of climates in the Philippines, cannot be communicated by just melting glaciers and polar bears. The climate stories of the country are closer to the stomach, in our culture, in our day-to-day. We feel it on our skin. We see it in everywhere we go. So part of our effort in 2020, we started what we call the Balangay Project. The Balangay Project is inspired by the Balangay, the country's oldest watercraft, that is steered by the use of natural elements. It serves as a symbol of solidarity, cooperation, determination, and resilience. In Philippine culture and language, the Balangay is the origin of the Filipino word barangay, which is our country's smallest unit of community. And haven't we proved during the pandemic that community resilience really lies and is rooted in the capabilities of our barangays? The Center's Balangay Project hopes to build on the science by increasing awareness and understanding of climate change and transforming that knowledge into action for resilience. Mga Kwento ng Klima Short Films is just a component of the bigger Balangay Project. What we really would like to try and do is to generate science-based stories to activate communities and networks for collective action. As I've mentioned, we started in 2020 and 2021 with the Klima Film Festival, last year with Mga Kwento ng Klima Short Films. In 2021, we also held a special workshop and project with communicators, other storytellers, called the Balangay Media Project and the Umalahocan Fellowship. As part of both the MKK Short Films and the Balangay Media Project, we run capacity building labs called the Climate Film Labs and the Climate Media Labs. And we hope to embark into community initiatives soon. Last year, we held the first Mga Kwento ng Klima Short Films and opened it up to independent and professional filmmakers. Being a research organization, we weren't entirely sure what kind of interest we would get or even what quality of submissions. But I'm proud to say that the 8 films that made it to our finals last year, stories coming from Central Luzon, NCR, and Western Visayas, are quite exciting. The trailers are available on the OML Center YouTube channel. Dalaw by Underwater Playground, won Best Film. I think LJ and his team qualified also for this year. We also have a couple of other teams who participated in last year's short films, also qualifying for this year's film. So I'm excited to see how your stories evolve. What makes this MKK different from last year? So learning from last year's, we've had a couple of improvements in this year's competition. First is the involvement of our tech partner, Samsung, which has allowed us to provide your teams with the opportunity to produce using the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, giving you a quality device to produce, but also leveling the playing field. Second, we are bringing back the Climate Film Labs, which we did not have last year. The Climate Film Labs is an intervention, a series of asynchronous and synchronous modules to help you strengthen your films, but also we would like to think help support you in the longer term as filmmakers and advocates. And thirdly, because of the partnership with Samsung, we also leveled up our prizes. Thank you, Samsung. So in case you need a reminder, the best film wins 50,000 cash prize with 130,000 worth of Samsung products. Second place is 30,000 cash prize with 30,000 worth of Samsung products. Third place, 20,000 cash prize with 11,000 worth of Samsung products. A special jury award will be given worth 20,000, and the 7 other finalists will also receive 10,000 pesos. Of course, we will continue to support the films through film promotion and non-exclusive distribution for up to 12 months post-competition, not just through I Want TFC, but through other channels. So how did you qualify? Our requirements for the 2023 MKK shorts. First of all, it has to be a live action video in a narrative format. Your pitches should have been in one of the following genres: drama, comedy, musical, action, suspense, historical, or science fiction. Sadly, I don't think none of you submitted any musicals. That would have been interesting. We're also looking for a strong climate lens, not necessarily environmental, not necessarily DRR, but able to really surface the climate issues in your stories. We screened your pitch decks based on the following criteria: climate lens, story concept, director's vision, creative approach, and production plan. We did the screening as a blind screening. So the panel was composed by members of the OML Center and Samsung. So what's going to happen next? So in the next few days, we are deploying the units assigned to you. We are looking at least 2 phone units per production team. We will also be making available the asynchronous modules of the Climate Film Labs. Next week, you have some synchronous sessions, and we hope a member of your production team can attend at each session. On May 30 and June 1 are panel discussions with storytellers and filmmakers. On May 31 and June 2, to be scheduled with each team, will be your consultations with your science mentors. This is an opportunity for you to ask science mentors how you can strengthen the climate lens of your stories. Submission of film entries is June 23. Wala pong galawan yan, no moving. So if your production plan exceeds June 23, you may want to have to rethink your plan. We do hope to do a film showing and awarding by July 18 and start making the finalists' films available on I Want TFC and exploring other channels by July 8, within July. And here's where the support of NCCA and FDCP will be very helpful. So just a reminder of the film submissions. June 23, 11:59, we give you an online submission link where you will upload your submissions. Your submissions have to be in digital copy, MOV or MP4, high definition, 1080p, aspect ratio of 16:9. Films using any regional languages or dialects must have English subtitles. Any music or songs used must be original or must have already secured permissions from the original artist or copyright owners. The films must carry MKK Shorts, OML Center, Samsung, I Want TFC, and Filmmakers logos appropriately. So it could be in the end credits. Your submissions have to be accompanied by a 15-second film teaser, film poster, at least 10 behind-the-scenes photos, 1 minute behind-the-scene video proving that you actually used the phone in your production, and the completed and signed documentary requirements. I will discuss the documentary requirements later. So the criteria for final judging: climate lens and story concept, 25%, directing and screenplay writing, cinematography, these 3 at 15%, production design, 10%, editing, 15%, and musical scoring, 5%. And I think that's it for me for now. Back to you, Daryl.